Yeah, I'm Anahit Hayrapetyan. I'm External Relations Associate at UNHCR Armenia. With many other responsibilities, I am also very closely dealing with Syrian Armenians, helping them um, feel at home, consider Armenia like home for themselves, and also integrate socio-economically with cultural integration activities and community-based activities.
And how long have you been in this position?
I have been for almost 15 years.
And uh, besides Syrian Armenians, which other groups of refugees does the UNHCR in Armenia aid?
Yeah, that's a very good question because many times even partners may think that we deal with Syrian Armenians only because they were majority anyhow and they remain a majority. It has been 4 or 5 years that we are helping them this way or other. But apart from Syrians, we also have a smaller group, but a group for Armenia, it's already foreigners, persons that are seeking asylum and not necessarily they are ethnically Armenians. And they come from various countries, unbelievably, from countries that even they wouldn't come as tourists or students even. We have from Afghanistan, we have from Yemen, we have from Bangladesh, from African countries, and from Iraq and from Iran.
And which kind of asylum do they seek, or why do the majority of people come here? Is there a trend in which type of asylum they're seeking?
Asylum is asylum. Asylum is when you want a particular country that you have entered um, because you couldn't live in your country anymore and you fled it for many reasons. Is to be protected, to have a place to live, to be allowed to live, to have access to services, uh, and many times as durable solution to be able to remain, to integrate and be part of the society.
And sorry, my question was incorrect. Which kind of persecution are they fleeing? Political, religious? Is there a trend?
Yeah, yeah. The focus priority is when people are forcibly displaced from their country of origin because they had a fear of persecution or they were persecuted because of the conflict and war. There are also discrimination, but these are these individual cases. But mostly people fleeing to Armenia would be three main population groups. That would be persons that fled Azerbaijan due to the collapse of Soviet Union and the war that started. So it was 360,000 people. So it was the largest group. Again, uh, people that were afraid of being persecuted, killed, or they saw killings, or they saw their houses burning. The second group, smaller group, was not more but 2,000 persons fleeing from Iraq, Syrian Armenians fleeing Baghdad, Mosul, uh, um, Iraqi Armenians. So, of course, Armenians would think that refugees have to be our Armenians. You know very well Armenians everywhere, and Armenia remains a second home. The third group was Syrian Armenians. In the course of 26 years now, we have had these major population groups fleeing against Syrian Armenians, again fleeing war. In between, there were many individuals that would flee one by one, in small groups, from countries that we had to really assess, understand why they are leaving. They were not prima facie refugees, that we know it's conflict, they are coming, of course. It was not for granted. The world didn't know. The world knew about Iraq war, so, Syria, and Azerbaijan. And of course, even logically, we would think those who are Armenians, they would come here. Um, Mainly dealing with people who are forcibly displaced, fleeing wars and conflicts. Physical well-being is at stake.
And uh, the majority of the people that come here, like you just said, they are ethnic Armenians from these different places. What percentage do you know, are not ethnic Armenians?
Some 20% should be non-ethnic Armenians. They should be those who are fleeing neighboring countries, and Armenia is close. Iran, Iraq, again, Kurds from northern Iraq and stuff, from Turkey. And of course, that information is sensitive, and we just say what country representatives may appear asking for asylum. That's very natural, in fact. 90% of refugees, they are in fact running to the neighboring country just for shelter, for protection, because they can't go further. With Armenians, it was different. Armenia was looking for them. I mean, they were looking forward to them. Of course, we would like to save the lives of Armenians who are fleeing wars. And God forbid, things go bad in I don't know, Iran or elsewhere neighboring us. Of course, I mean, so, that's why we always have contingency planning in mind. What if, for example, in 1916, in early April, we had some 2,500 persons fleeing Nagorno-Karabakh war.
2016.
Yeah, it was early April. This 4-day war caused displacement also. And with refugees, it's like it doesn't mean that they are static. They came. No, people always move. I mean, the map moves, and people are also free to move, to decide a better future. So when people came from Syria, 22,000, it doesn't mean that all these 23,000 are here. People are going, others are going and coming back, deciding to move on and stay. Many applied for Canada, Australia, Sweden, Germany, and went there. And there is nothing that we are actually unhappy about that. This is life. People decide. People are looking for a place in the sun. Yeah, everybody does. So migration is really something that is ongoing. In the world, this minute, we have almost 70 million people who have been displaced and are in different statuses. They are all together 70,000, asking asylum, asking for refugees themselves. And there is a group, very peculiar group, that is about Syrian Armenians. They are holding passports because we help them, like Nansen did, and we issued passports for them to facilitate their entry. Because legal obligation is legal obligation. You have to have documents when you cross your lands. And with ID cards, Armenia decided to issue right even from Aleppo in consulate, or to issue here. As long as you speak Armenian, you look Armenian, you have your yes, yeah, even to that they closed eyes. So they would come with passports, brand new passport. They wouldn't even know how it looks like. So we started to help like from backwards. Doesn't matter you have a passport, you are a person in a refugee-like situation. We said this thing so many times that this became a term, a cliche. And headquarters granted us green light to help these people and allocated money to us. Otherwise, it would have been like very traditional. You ask for asylum, they are examining your case, country origin information and stuff like that, and then you are granted refugee status, and then sometime after you are applying for citizenship, like happens in Germany or in the US. But here, do we punish these people because they have passports and say, "Oh, you are a citizen"? No, you have displacement-related needs, and you are helped. So we should be proud of that. UNHCR Armenia should be proud of that talked headquarter donors into giving us money for those quite peculiar status people who are displaced Syrians holding Armenian passports or residents. That's why every time if you go to the Ministry of Diaspora or anywhere, we have this saying that Armenia was very generous. Government was very generous. They said, just come, save your lives. The rest don't bother about that. You have a passport, you don't have a passport, you have an ID. But what is the difference between UNHCR and any government? UNHCR is an international organization and promoting international humanitarian values, promoting human rights in general. That's why it says everyone, you don't have to be Armenian here, everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. And this is Universal Declaration on Human Rights. You see, the Bible of any UN treaty or convention. So, and what we do here, we...
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you were saying that a lot of the Armenians who come here, Syrian Armenians, they have citizenship or they get citizenship, they get a passport. And so I think you answered the question. I was going to say, does that make it more difficult to get funding to help them because they don't have refugee status?
We actually passed that phase of being afraid. It was during preparation how to start humanitarian operation for Syrian Armenians. Right after, right away we started to negotiate this. Right away of the conflict. It was even in 2012 that we started, and in 2013 it was in full swing. You see, people. So before that, we had already talked the government into that. We had convinced, we had actually proven that these people will exactly the way traditional refugees suffer. They will go through that displacement, psychological, shelter, medical, starting a new life in a new land, all these kind of things. It's not about being difficult, it's about just getting a green light. And then the scheme is the same.
From the Armenian government or from the international
Government
UN
has
bodies?
nothing to do with UNHCR, unfortunately. Yes, we have our portion of contribution. Armenia does give contribution, 150,000 a year, to the big pot of those who are member states of the UN. So it's not about difficulty, it's about how clever UNHCR was. And the government is generous, but in things that that it can handle. For example, tax-free regime for transporting belongings, or facilitated procedure of granting citizenship. Yeah, because not necessarily everybody was issued passports. I'm saying that from physical, notions, you understand that it's an Armenian and is entering the country.
And how did the Armenians who are coming in from Syria, how did they know what their options were in terms of citizenship or residency status or refugee status?
They were all told that because we had the consulate working until during the war. Even it was just non-stop. It was it was issuing in quite a speedy way, and from here passports were also being sent there. It's just in this information land, it's not difficult to know. And also, when you are saving your life, you are only thinking about the safe haven. We all do that. We always have contingency in mind. Where will I go if? What will happen if? Who is going to be next to me? Yeah, if you magnify that thinking, you are then thinking about a country. What country will, not a person, but a country. So it's very logical that Armenians would come to Armenia. They wouldn't go anywhere else. And then here, when they settle down and they have minimal, at least, assistance, they can decide ways forward.
And so you were about to explain, what the procedure is for what you do here in terms of helping Syrian Armenians. So once they arrive in Armenia,
Actually, they are not arriving like that. Anush, I wish you were here like 3 years ago when it was like the boom. They don't arrive that much anymore. Now foreigners.
When they arrived.
Yeah, okay, that 2020.
Okay. I have about 15. So.
Oh, very good then. things that we do every day. Is it all right now? Yeah. Is things that we take for granted. Well, a person that does things, minimal things, is access to water, yeah? It's access to pills, primitively said, to be able to wash and brush, and the children, now imagine the children or elderly. All these kind of things, which is called basic needs and core relief items, things that you need to live, every day, otherwise you are just like a homeless person. These things was UNHCR doing. UNHCR was doing that through partners, and specialized partners that you know very well, Mission Armenia. Mission Armenia is able to give a life-saving assistance, to lend a helping hand, and literally to put under shelter.
So, in terms of shelter, I know that Mission Armenia works with UNHCR on social housing. Could you speak a little bit about what that is?
Actually, UNHCR Armenia is itself working with Mission Armenia for social housing, because we are not building houses, apartments, or social houses anymore. But that we did for quite a long time for us, persons from Azerbaijan. But because Mission Armenia does have social rooms, social houses, sort of, we don't say elderly house, but social houses, a couple of houses like that, and apartments, and we actually help them renovate. It's emergency housing, it's emergency shelter. So when we don't have anywhere to put, because the government also does have like 14 rooms, the minimum, we have dark peak and stuff, very, very minimal. We should have had, I think, 100 times more social apartments, free of charge apartments. Because of that, because we lack, government and UNHCR cannot build, we introduced rental subsidy project exactly when Syrian Armenians came, and it was really difficult to put them because the reception center for asylum seekers in general was filled with Syrian Armenians. So others were coming, there is no space. The rental subsidy is quite made some magic, in fact, when we give like the 2/3, approximately, and they chip in, they can rent an apartment. Further you go, cheaper, and more vulnerable you are, the length, the time period is longer for rental subsidy. That should go maximum 18 months. It depends on the vulnerability criteria. It's scientifically done. It's not like, oh, you are a good family, I give you, or yes, I can see you have. No, it's in fact based on standard operation procedures that Mission Armenia was led by. We also introduced quite a dignified way of assistance. If the persons can have access to banks and stuff, to just transfer money. We transfer money for them to rent apartments or for emergency assistance like buying school supplies or heating apartments during winter. So it's called CBI, cash-based assistance. That is, in fact, transferring cash, not giving to you, but transferring cash, and then you do what you do. But before that, you are informed what that cash is for, so that when you decide to come for assistance, we can easily ask. But we said that this cash, this portion is for this, that portion is for that. So you can't come now to ask. So if they are not listening to, they may be carried away and go and buy a TV set. You never know. This is because that is also a core relief item these days, isn't it? A source of information. But refugees, it's very difficult to copy paste or cut paste lives. The scar is inside. If not visible, it's inside. We are mitigating suffering. We're helping them, pushing them, sort of giving many other things to restart the life, but nobody can. It becomes a memory, or you cherish your homeland. If things are going all right at home, UNHCR even has a project that is called voluntary repatriation, so that helps you again to now go and rebuild life from here and from there. But never say that you will be living in luxury, because that's not possible.
And what have you seen in the past 6 years to be the biggest hurdle to reintegration for Syrian Armenians?
First of all, it's stable life, that you have the minimum and you are not degrading. It's when you really can think of working. When you understand that if you cleverly use the salary that is 100 times less than you would receive at home, you can actually manage that. When you are satisfied with little, when you see that locals live sometimes even worse, if you have savings and you are really now thinking how to manage that. If you are opening business, you understand the clientele, you understand that the market is tiny. When psychologically you are fine, and when your children are happy at school and playing in the yard, when you understand that the safety, security, and speaking your language and being in the atmosphere that you would dream and have songs and all this like a souvenir Armenia was for diaspora Armenians, yeah? One day we will go. Now that you have come and you can see Mount Ararat, when we speak to Syrian Armenians, we understand that they are saying these things, maybe differently, but they are saying that where else should we go? Where else are we wanted? We are wanted here. And I will adjust myself, I will adjust my wishes and my and work more for less, not to work less for more. So if you just sort of understand the values and you appreciate what you have, then you can understand that you have integrated. And in that psychological freedom, then you can decide what you should do.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for UNHCR with regard to aiding Syrian Armenians?
The main challenge for UNHCR is the socioeconomic situation and absence of structures, systems for locals, the inability to mainstream refugees that have undergone the emergency phase and now are able to live a normal life. You can't mainstream them. You just do not know where to mainstream them because there is no system. That is the problem of UNHCR, how to close the page.
And if there were something that you could provide to Syrian Armenians to help them and aid them more, what would that be? Or what do you think could be done more to help them?
Yeah, very good question. That will be capacitation. That will be to give wings. That is to educate to the maximum, to help them, the youth especially, to get the opportunities. Because, funnily enough, socioeconomic situation is quite poor, yeah? You don't have any health schemes, you don't have any social issues, you don't have this and that. Salaries are small, but the opportunities are big. And when you have education, know-how, and you are joining the civil society, which is very strong here, and you are participating in many community activities and supplementary classes and civic education, all stuff like that, the youth is sort of capacitated. Exactly, they become like locals. There is some moment, Anush, that you can't say that they are refugees anymore because time has passed and things must have changed, supposedly.
Wait a second. I know you said you want to leave at 3:20.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
So that UNHCR is filling the gap by asking other actors to come and help. That is what we are doing, for example, with World Vision, with Aleppo NGO. But again, as you can see, this is not state money, especially now that we are in transition. It's just saying UNHCR has done this, but now they are nearly there. development actors come and just merge.
Yeah, so yes, if you had to say what the next step is for not just UNHCR, but everyone working together for Syrian Armenians, what would you see that to be?
I would see advocacy and how we mainstream into other projects and activities, and how we talk government into understanding that one day UNHCR may not be able to help Syrian Armenians because we are like guests. We were invited by the government of Armenia to come and help. We are not a state in a state, and we are not going to replace the government. You know, government. What is government? Government is nation, authorities, simple people. Everybody is a state, the country. So UNHCR may close forever because we have been doing this for 5 years. We need other actors to come and help while we advocate for the rights.
The office of UNHCR in Armenia opened only 5 years ago?
No, the operations, the Armenian operation.
Oh, okay.
No, I said that we have been for 26 years. And from refugees from Azerbaijan, Iraq, Syrian Armenians, but at some point emergency assistance should stop and integration activities should start. We do all this together because durable solution in the Armenian context is that they locally integrate, even foreigners, because this is not a resettling country. We're not resettling. And we're not here as transit zone to keep and then to send somewhere. Many times we can't send back because the situation is not good there. People should voluntarily decide to go. So as long as they are in Armenia, UNHCR should make sure that they are handed over to good hands. We do not abandon them, but we have, sort of vision what will happen if we don't have the funding. Because assistance should be temporary. One cannot be assisted all life.
And once UNHCR eases away from assistance, who would take over? Would the government take over in the vision that you see, or the people should be able to live without assistance and just...
Many are able to live without assistance because they adapted to the reality and learned to live with minimal. Instead, they had other values. They had other values. They had broader thinking, opportunities, and they, in fact, are safe. And they are living in their motherland. Others who are vulnerable and will always rely on assistance, like older people with specific needs, with disabilities and other diversities. For them, we will continue help as long as we are in Armenia, but all depends on the funding. You see, the crisis elsewhere is much higher than in Armenia. And other actors then can help, I don't know, diaspora organizations, benevolent actors, or the government can at last allocate some. And they have actually. The thing is, they are really trying and they are doing things. It's not that they are, no, they are. And they will do even much better. But it's very important that the smaller group, much smaller, and that is our actually victory again, is relying on assistance from others. We should look into them, all the people. The UNHCR will always have funds for those people. But UNHCR is mainly an emergency organization that has the, as durable solution, local integration, yes, but it doesn't mean that UNHCR is going to live the life together with refugees till the life ends.
Thank you. This is the last question, and then if there's anything that I didn't ask that you'd like to say, please feel free to say it. But my last question is, where do you see the Syrian Armenian community and the role of UNHCR with that community in the next 5 years?
Exactly like you, with other population groups, I see UNHCR working with Syrian Armenians who have vulnerabilities that they have still not recovered for this or that reason. And integration opportunities that we do for them, which is not emergency assistance, but it is something for their children and now even grandchildren, mainstreaming them into activities that are helping them integrate. Youth camps, vocational trainings, community-based activities, that we will do, always we will do. And these activities don't want much money, but they are preparing refugee population, whoever they are, Syrian Armenians or Africans, to be handed over to development actor. Because if you don't do that, like from primary school, you don't jump to high school, yeah? So UNHCR is very much looking after secondary school also, it's just a comparison. Primary school is this vital part, yeah? And then we have the educational part when you are talking people into getting employed, talking people into trying to, minimize the needs, and focusing on children's education, And the high school is when they are there and you don't know, but you see them on the street and they say, I have an open restaurant, look, I have a bistro or a printing house. So that is the blissful part. Many times those help others through us or without us, employing or teaching or giving awareness raising and these type of things. And there are many success stories. But in life, there are always people who are doing well and those who are relying on others. With UNHCR, the specifics is that displacement-related needs are the most sad needs, because you are in the country where there are citizens around residents, yeah. Neither you are a tourist or a student. You are, a newcomer, but not necessarily a tourist, or you are a person that has displacement needs. So UNHCR is protecting those who appear in a country of asylum having lost everything.
Thank you. Anahit, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to say? I know there's so much we can talk about.
Yeah, what I want to say is that please, others who are caring for others, any other actors or those who want to be helping others, please, if you can, lend a helping hand to Syrian Armenians anywhere, especially in Armenia. Again, we have become a new country. You see, after the revolution, we are again a brand new baby country in a way. Help the government, who is very much willing, and share the burden of other actors. Do something individually. Mentor, sponsor, host, adopt families, helping them integrate. Even $1,000, $500 can help. Because if you don't help families, or you don't focus on them, or you don't really see where the need is, so that you either help or refer, children may suffer in that family. So UNHCR never closes pages, in fact. It's just like in our campaign that we have, and we will continue, we say we stand together with refugees.
Thank you.
Most welcome.